4, 3, 2, and 1. I'm doing tracking to see if I can...
You went really far away from...
No, I was like, oh, and this is the direction I should be going. No, it's this way to get more frame. I don't know why it was... I don't know. Losing my mind if I even had one to begin with. I mean, that's the jury's out on that one. I guess we shall see. Alright, let's do this, everyone. Jay, I like your shirt.
Yep, no logos. Nothing to shoo me by.
Okay.
And you can't tell what's on those pictures. You can't tell anything in the background.
Alright.
Except my cup of water.
Alright. Here we go. Hey, those are good to show. Those are good to show.
That's good
We
to
should be
show.
doing that.
That's
Like,
why.
yeah, let's do this. Buy the books.
Free advertisement, subliminal messaging.
That's what we need
We're
to
off the
do.
rails
We need to
again.
start advertising that in other videos where it's just every once in a while an image of pops up. Pathfinder. Pathfinder.
For me, I'm just following my Toa theming and have a Ice Cube t-shirt.
Oh. Nice.
I unfortunately am playing as Corman. I have a Green Day shirt on. He's not a druid, but he's the closest martial to it.
Yeah. And then I'm playing as Kasith today, so the entire session will be stuck like this.
Well, hopefully not too long. But anyways, back to the game.
Back to this game. Let's play Pathfinder and no other games. And let's not get off the rails any further because it's getting late. Let's get started. Alright, so. How's it going, everyone? I'm not going to yell this time. My name is Chris, and we are the Quaternity of Dice, and we are glad to have you here with us this evening. I am the Game Master for this game, or GM for short. I actually don't know which I prefer more, Game Master or GM. I think Game Master sounds cooler because it has Master in the title. And the Master is my favorite Doctor Who character. It's not the Doctor, or one of his companions. However, I am joined with us for this game by these lovely players right here, these four individuals. Four individuals, please tell us who you are.
My name is Brent. I play as Xavier Vani. It's funny that you mention the Master, because my computer is actually in the TARDIS. It is glowing blue right now.
Ah, neat.
Hi, I'm Abby. I play Kai Vespagin, and we're pretending like we haven't been talking randomly for an hour before we started.
It has been an hour. Yep. Who's next?
Hi, I'm Blake from Azora, and unlike the other people in this party, I don't go on random tangents.
Yet.
Yeah.
And I'm Jalen J. Perez, and I'll be playing as Orion Thane. And I gotta say, one of my favorite fictional characters gotta be Spock. I'm a
Can't go wrong
Trekkie,
with
yes,
Spock.
deal with it.
Can't go wrong with Vulcans. So as I said at the beginning of this little spiel, we are playing Pathfinder. Specifically, we are playing the 2nd edition Pathfinder, and even more specifically, we're mostly using the remaster rules of the 2nd edition. Not to say that you don't have to, you can't use anything else, you can use whatever you want, have fun. But this is just what we chose to do. In our game, we are playing in a homebrew setting called Engliria, a gigantic republic that is made up of various different countries and regions, and even one city-state that's underneath the water. But with that in mind, just remember that for some of us, this is we haven't been playing too long, right? I mean, we're getting there, though. I mean, this is session 11, is it? 11.
Yeah.
So yeah, we've been playing for a little bit now, but there's still some things to get used to. So bear with us if we make a mistake. If we do make a mistake, we'll try to catch it, and if not, we'll catch it next episode and talk about it. Anything else? Anybody else have anything to add so far?
I was gonna say we have some hiccups here and there. Take it easy. We're still learning. There's a lot in this book, and this is just the player core. So
Show off the
still getting
Bible.
there.
Show off the player book.
All three. Flip them like
There's a lot of
cards.
information. We're
GM
learning.
core, monster core, and player core. You should get them all. Even player core 2 and NPC core when it comes out. All the cores. By the
This feels very much like all hail the Hypnotoad.
Reason why that meme still holds up. Everyone brings it, and it's good.
All glory to the Pathfinder. But anybody else have anything else to add before we get started with our game tonight?
Don't forget to comment. Comment on these videos. We love to reach out to the community.
And make sure that you follow us on our social medias, which are now officially set up. Facebook, Instagram, Blue Sky, and TikTok. We look forward to engaging with you.
Absolutely. So, with all of that said, I think we can actually go ahead and stop getting off of all of the rails. And I think we're just going to go ahead and get started with our session tonight. So, enjoy our opening. We'll be with you guys in a few seconds. And we're back. So, last week on your guys' session, you spent most of it in combat. You guys have been investigating the weird happenings around the city of Hookhandle after you all had arrived, and met up with Toa, a new friend who's helping you guys look into some stuff. You guys spent one evening in town, and then a gigantic disaster happened. Explosions and fires all throughout town. You did your best to help, and in the aftermath, you guys found about all this weird stuff that I mentioned. You found corruption in town. You found someone who is behind all of this. You found out that the harbor master, Magara Robin, the person who Kaya had actually brought back from the very brink of death, is the one to blame for all this. She was the victim of some election fraud, and that caused her to go over the deep end. And some bad things happened because of it. Nonetheless, looking into this, you also found some smugglers' tunnels underneath the city that relate to Megara because she was part of the smugglers' ring. And you guys decided to go in and investigate. And during the course of it, you found some people, some pirates that were actively in there. And you got into a scrap with them. You guys decidedly won, although unfortunately, Ryan got hurt really bad and actually got knocked out at one point. But ultimately, you were healed and saved. And, you guys did a little bit of a look around the area. But you did have two people from that fight get away. And they ran into a different door to a different section of the tunnels. After, putting together your wounds and bandaging yourselves quickly, and a small look around the room. You guys decided to chase after them, and found a whole different section that's completely different. Before it was regular old tunnel, this place you guys ended up finding looked like an actual ruin, a very ancient ruin that had a direct connection to old magic, the magic that predates the magic that you guys use today, the stuff that is infused into those unstable magic items that when they go off, cause all those glyphs and strange symbols you guys see in the sky and explosions and weird gases and whatnot. And you found a city guard who was down there, seemingly on the side of these smugglers, and snuck your way down a little bit, and then initiated a fight with the two pirates and the guard, and ultimately won, although an unlikely source aided you down inside this arcane, not arcane, but ancient forge of magic. There is a large floating crystal that they were trying to break out of its chains and take with them, and one of the pirates hit it, and it shocked them nearly to death. So they were on death's door when you guys finally initiated combat. But ultimately, you guys have won the combat, and are now able to look around the room and see what all is here, see what you can do with these things that are around. And so we are officially out of initiative. I do believe all of you are still up the ramp a little bit of ways. Kaya and Toa are closest to the bottom, and Kaya has released a bunch of marbles down the slope of this little ramp that are now collected somewhat close to the bottom of the ramp section. So with that said, what would you guys like to do?
Alright. Above table though, I will like to say MVP of the battle is Mr. Rock. Mr. Rock is definitely an MVP, no doubt about it, with the lightning bolts.
Yeah.
And Orion's going to stay away from the rock that shoots lightning bolts because that shit freaked him out.
You know, I've said this before, and I am for you guys. I am rooting for you, but I'm annoyed that my own enemies, my own control, the things that I control, hurt themselves before you guys can do anything. So, ultimately happy you guys survived, though, I will say that.
Okay. This floor is like soft, right? Like soft dirt ish.
I thought it was marble and everything else, like the way that you guys kind of described it, like a
No,
holy
it's-
little sanctum.
It probably was at one point, but years of dirt covering it, and actually, you know, from the way this place looks, you guys can tell that this has been excavated. This was covered at one point, and that ramp is not supposed to be where it is. There was something else here instead, and so that's very easy to see. I'm not going to make you guys roll for that to check it. And so the dirt's here. I think that it's a safe assumption to believe there is floor underneath of all the dirt. It just hasn't been cleared away yet, because this mud and dirt has so hard packed on top of it that it's pretty hard. If you ever walked inside of a cavern, like Oral Caverns or Mammoth Cave System or whatever, and you get that dirt feel, it's soft if you rub your hands into it, but when you step on it, it's pretty hard. Kind of like that.
Okay. I'm gonna take a run and I'm gonna slide and try and scoop up as many marbles as I can.
I'm curious of how this is going to play out. So, go ahead and make an acrobatics check. I want to see if you hurt yourself in the ensuing slide.
That is 15 plus 1, so 16.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah, this was a relatively low DC. Yeah, so you get a good run and a good slide, and given that your wingspan, your arms, is not that wide, you don't get as much as you think. Maybe about half of the ones you threw down, but they all collected in here. You are very dirty, I will say. A lot of dust kicks up and stuff, because some of this isn't wet, as opposed to the dirt and mud that was upstairs.
Okay, so okay. And I'll try and pick up some more Because I don't want anyone falling and slipping on them. Obviously,
Yeah.
that wouldn't
Well-
be funny at all.
While the others make their way down, you have the time. You can pick up a good many of them. It's, I'd say maybe 95% of the ones you threw down you can collect pretty easily.
Oh gosh, now I gotta do math.
How many did you throw down, roughly?
200.
Okay,
One.
so you,
I got it. I used a calculator.
calculate.
You got 190, right?
Yeah.
I did. It'd be funny if I was
really,
wrong.
I was really hoping to get a different number back.
Alright, so, you collect all these. You guys can see this, you can hear it. I do believe during the course of the fight, the two pirates that are down here have died. And the guard is simply unconscious. I think the final bit was actually the daze spell, and it does allow you to do non-lethal damage. So he is unconscious. He has roughly 10 minutes before he wakes up. But you guys have the entire room to look around. So, to get a better sense of the room, in case you don't remember from the map, at the very bottom of the chamber, there are 8 pillars, or columns, that actually don't extend all the way to the ceiling. It looks like they actually had something that was supposed to be there at one time and has since disappeared. There should have been a roof of some kind, or some other structure, but it's just gone. In between the final 4, in the middle of the square that the final 4 would make, is that little forge. Right? It's not little, it's actually 10 feet by 10 feet. And it's a bunch of intricate symbols and glyphs and runes on the ground, carved into hard stone. It's raised up a little bit. In front of that is a dais with a book on it, a smaller book. To the right of the forge, from the bottom of the ramp, to the right of the forge, or whatever you want to call it, is the illustrious stone, the crystal, that is connected to the ground via chains. Next to the crystal, against the wall, are a bunch of dead bodies in varying states of decay. There's one that's just a skeleton, one that's mostly decayed, one that seems relatively fresh-ish. Not as fresh as the 2 bodies of the pirates, but along those lines. Further up from them is a wagon, or cart, that looks like it should be used by some donkeys, mules, or horses, or whatnot, to go up the circular ramp to the room. On the other side of the room, there is a small table to the left of the forge that has a few little bits and pieces on it. It looks like it's somewhat connected to the forge, but you can't tell which way. It just looks to be like of a similar make. To the left of that, up against the wall, is a lectern that has a larger book on it that looks much more ancient, much older, much different than the other book that is near the forge. Next to the lectern is what looks like a small laboratory area. You can see all kinds of alchemical pieces like mortar and pestle and different flasks and whatnot. You can see a cauldron of some kind, and then you see a table that has all kinds of different small objects on them, little trinkets of some kind, and you see different bits of markings on the table. You see a scorch mark, you see an acid mark, various cuts into the table. It looks like all kinds of random effects have hit it over time. There's a few papers scattered around this desk and table area as well. And then next to that area, closest to where you guys end up landing at the bottom of the ramp, are a bunch of crates, barrels, and bags of who knows what. So, what would you guys like to look at?
Well, first thing for Toa is he's starts walking past Kaya. Looks like he's pretty interested in the forge and everything over there. And immediately makes a side turn towards the crates and barrels. Finds the most empty barrel or crate he can find and starts to practically vomit into said container as he just witnessed people die, and the adrenaline has started to wear off, and he is not used to that, and it's almost here. It's chunky.
Yeah, it's rough.
Yeah, so he's having a little bit of a rough time.
Okay, what are the rest of you doing?
Go ahead.
I'm gonna go start looking at the bodies. I'm gonna start with the ones over by the stone.
Okay.
I'll start with the one that's all bones.
Okay. What do you want to know about them?
I just want to check their body for anything, but when I get over to the one with a skeleton, I'm gonna set everybody down on the level.
You can say so by this point.
I'm gonna pick up and his arm and I'm gonna say, "We merrily avoided death just now."
As Toa was like finishing up his vomiting, he sees it happen and then proceeds to continue to vomit.
Zavi just shakes his head and walks over towards the stone.
Okay.
Zavi, I've got a bone to pick with you.
Zavi pulled out his sword cane and goes, "I get the point."
Oh.
Nice. Too
Alright.
soon. Too soon. He's he's bones, for God's sake. All right. So, is there anything specifically you want to look for in the bodies?
Any possession that I mean, I'm gonna say if they're dead down here, they've probably been gone through. But you know, like any like if I can maybe identify them in some way or
Give me a perception roll first.
That's a 6 + 7, 13.
Okay, cool. That's fair enough. This was low. So looking at the first body you found, the skeleton, you can find that on his person is a very large amount of nothing. He's bones. So he has no possessions.
He's been picked clean.
Or she. It could be a she or they. It could be. We don't know. Yes, Jay.
Orion's actually gonna make his way down to Zavi and ask him if he still has the key to the room upstairs.
Zavi pats around and goes, "This it?"
And Orion says yes. I am going to take this cart and get the other two people that are unconscious upstairs, bring them here, and we're gonna tie them up with this guard right now. That way we can make sure they're all secured in one place. And if one of them wakes up, I can bonk him on the head.
Let me ask, is the ultimate goal gonna end up being taking that cart back up again?
Yes.
So why don't you just put the bodies, I'm gonna give you guys a hint here. I shouldn't, but I'm going to. Why don't you just put them on the cart now and take the cart up so you don't have to make 2 trips?
Well, 2 of the bodies are in the other room.
That's what I mean. Like, are you gonna ultimately bring all those back up to the other
Alright.
room?
Yeah, technically, yeah. So I could probably just I could probably just stay up there and just actually search the smuggler's room while you guys check out everything down here. Then.
Because it's gonna be, if you bring the people that are upstairs, you have, I think, 2 unconscious folks upstairs. One of
Yep.
the pirates and one of the orcs. If you bring them down and then grab this guard, you're gonna have, instead of 1 person, you're gonna have 3 people to take up on a card. Makes sense?
Gotcha.
It just depends on how long we're down here, looking everything over.
But before I forget, I want to go back to Kaya. You're looking over those bodies. With that roll, this is very simplistic to find. The other 2 bodies, they do still have some possessions on them. The skeleton had been completely picked clean of all clothing and everything. It was just a skeleton. The others are wearing clothing, and it seems like commoner's clothing. And it actually seems like it's relatively modern clothing. It's not like ancient. You're not finding an ancient body of some kind. And a lot of the clothing in this area, you would have been able to tell this by now, and Toa would really be able to know this. Salty sea air, does not work good on a lot of fabrics, and it does damage it eventually. And so a lot of the clothing here shows that. So these are citizens of the city of Hookhandle that have been brought down here and killed. For what reason and what purpose, who knows? You can't get that from your roll. But you can see there's very definitive holes in their chest and one in their throat. And with that knowledge, now with that roll, looking over the skeleton, there are nick marks in the bones, the rib cage, and near the part that goes up, like the top of the spine that goes up into the up to here. You know what I'm talking about.
I will say, as Kaya is looking into them, like looking over them and seeing what they have, before Zavi goes over to the stone, I would have him walk by and go, I don't think any of these guys are going to talk anymore.
Not with that attitude.
The one has a hole in his throat.
Ever hear of magic? Actually, I don't think you guys would be level enough to do that kind of stuff yet, but still. That's a good point. They're not talking to you. Right. And besides the clothing on the backs of the 2 that still have some, for lack of a better term, meat on them, there's nothing else in their possessions. There's no coin or nothing. They've been completely looted of everything. Which, it makes sense that all their possessions would be taken. Before I move on, is there anything else you're looking for in this area?
No, I'll just go over to the other bodies and start moving
Okay.
them.
Is that Warhammer still on the ground? Just wondering when the guard dropped it.
Yeah, it is still sitting on the ground.
I'll take that Warhammer.
Okay. Well, add a Warhammer to your inventory.
Woo!
Zavi, you were the first one to speak after Kaya, and you said you wanted to go look at the stone circle, the forge.
Yes.
Is that what you want to look at? Okay. So what are you trying to discern from this?
Well, wait. Is this where the stone that caused the near death? That's the stone I was talking about.
Okay, the floating crystal stone thing.
Crystal
Yes.
stone, yeah.
It is definitely, it is more crystalline. It is glowing faintly. Not as much as it was when you guys saw it get hit, obviously, but it is glowing. It is attached by chains to the ground, and these chains are pretty thick. Each link is about that wide, so pretty solid. It's about 3 feet of chain on each of the 3 points, and the chains are anchored into the ground with very deep spikes. I mean, obviously you don't know they're deep, but you can kind of get the gauge. That's how they're staying in there. The chain itself to the other end, to the crystal, it is also wedged in with spikes. And it looks like it's been painstakingly driven into this crystal itself. And easily seeable, without any kind of roll, is all kinds of scorch marks around the parts where these chains connect. Like electrical, like lightning, strike type things. You had seen that when the guy hit the thing with a pick, it popped him off. So imagine the stress this thing went under having stakes driven into it. It could be possible to remove them. It would take a very good amount of force. The thing is hovering above the ground, probably about 2.5 to 3 feet in the air. Just as long as the chains permit, which I said each chain's about 3 feet. No notice if it would go any higher without the chains or not. Don't have a gauge of reference for it, but that seems to be what it does. Are you just kind of looking at it, or are you touching it?
I'm not touching it. Because last time somebody touched it, granted it was with force, they nearly died. And I'm still feeling rough. So I'm just gonna see, is there any part of this that I may have seen before, anything similar? Because I know I've seen like some behind the scenes of the circus, but nothing. I don't know if it would have been something I would have seen there.
You can make one of 4 checks. The choice is yours. You can make Arcana, Nature, Occultism, or Religion.
It's gonna be a 14 plus 5.
For 19 total?
For 19, and it's gonna be occultism.
Occultism. Okay. Thinking back to the circus, there was a few different people, Kaya included, that used magic as part of their act. And there were some parts where there are certain people that when they get closer to, like, how do I describe this? For a lot of different types of casters, the older you get, the more powerful you become, because you're channeling more, you have experience. But there are certain folks that the opposite happens, that with age, your magical power starts to wane just as much as the energy of your own body. And so, recent years have come up with, mages have come up with a design that they call a battery. And it is a very volatile magical artifact that is infused with the magical tradition that person would need. And it allows them to kind of bolster their magical power. It does have a big cost. When using these batteries, there is a chance that, yes, it can grant you extra magical power, but it could take your life force to use, to convert into that magic. So from a mechanics standpoint of the game, these batteries can be used to fuel spell slots, but they take hit points to fuel them. And the ratio is not 1-to-1. It's skewed more in the favor of you losing more hit points. And from all the time you've been in the circus, there are a few folks you definitely would have known who tried one, realized how dangerous it is, and said no. These things are not a very widely used thing in the Engliria space. It's a thing that within the last 10 years has been established, and people are saying, it's not worth it. And so trade of them has actually gone down significantly, and in some places they're completely outlawed.
And that's why that guy nearly died while trying to free it.
I'll also tell you that this one is weird. It's huge. Usually they're small, about the size of like a canteen of water or something. Like mostly handled, like maybe about the size of, in real life, about the size of a football. Yeah, about that size. That works.
Mm. Yeah, I'm not gonna touch it. I will, of course. I am gonna voice that to anybody who's near, or eventually, you know, when we're closer to each other, I'll tell people what I remember that being, or if anyone gets close to it. Mostly so they don't touch it. And I just plan on reporting it because I don't want to mess with this kind of magic and this level of an artifact, especially this size.
Toa, I will tell you, because of the fact you actually went to study magic, you went to a formal college with curriculum is based on different types of magical, spell work and enchanting and whatnot. You know of these things' existence, but you know that they're not widely used. Kaya, you probably, because of being a mage as well, you probably would have heard of these before. Especially being in that Zabi knew about them from the circus, you probably would have seen somebody use one at least once in the past year. Right. Anything else you want to try to ascertain from the crystal? The battery?
No, I would be cautiously moving away and actually probably moving over towards the forge. Or if somebody's over there, then I would be looking elsewhere to cover as much ground as possible.
Okay. Skip, we want to jump from you to Ryan. You had said you wanted to go check something out. You wanted to go. Are you going to go upstairs and look at the folks that are upstairs still? Well, not upstairs, but like up the ramp in the other room.
Actually, as I said, I'm still gonna grab the cart from downstairs, put the 3 bodies in the cart, and just take them upstairs and just tie them up. The one unconscious guy with the 2 others upstairs, and then check that room.
Okay. For you, I would like you to make an athletics check to see if you could take this thing up by yourself with the folks on it.
That is going to be a athletics 18.
18? Fair enough, yeah, easily doable. You get the 2 dead guys and the guard loaded up. Before he takes them, is anyone going to look through their pockets or anything like that? Kai, is that what you were suggesting doing? Okay.
Yeah.
So looking through their belongings, obviously the guard, you find it, his armor is readily noticeable. It's city guard armor with the Hokiam's insignia on it. All in all, in their pockets, altogether you end up finding 20 gold and 10 silver. Along with the clothes they're wearing. And Orion already picked up the Warhammer. And if it matters, they also do have crossbows on them. And I do believe hatchets as well. Okay. So if anybody else doesn't object, Orion's gonna take those 3 bodies, the 2 dead guys and the unconscious guy, and take them upstairs. Are you leaving the old bodies down here? The ones that Kaya looked at?
No, I'm gonna take them up there.
So you're gonna take 6 bodies.
Yeah, I'll take the 6 bodies. They're gonna be, or actually, I'm not gonna move them. I'm not gonna move them. That's evidence.
Okay, yeah, perfect. Makes sense to me. Alright, so you get those 3 loaded up and take them upstairs. And is your ultimate goal going to be to tie up the 3 unconscious people?
Yep. And
Okay,
I'm
we
gonna make sure once I get upstairs, I lock that one door that leads into the smuggler's room because I don't want anyone just walking in.
Okay, easily doable. Um,
And then I'll search around the room, and if I don't find anything, then I'll search around the room, and if I don't find anything, I'll start repairing my shield.
okay. Looking around, um, you find that this area is a storeroom for the smuggling aspect of it. You find textiles. You find, like, bits and pieces to make furniture. You find general goods, all kinds of stuff in and around this area, all in labeled crates, and a few of the crates say the MRM shipping on them. And those are the ones, whenever you first entered the room, the 2 pirates that were off to the side, they tried breaking a bunch of crates. The ones they tried breaking are the ones that are actually labeled with the shipping company name. So
Gotcha.
it's, you kind of get the reference of, like, they were trying to destroy that evidence so it wasn't noticed.
And I'll also check the one spot where the guy was the head pirate that was barking orders to see if there's any paperwork there.
There was the paperwork that you guys had found last session. Because while you guys were all being patched up, somebody did check that table. I forget who it was. That somebody did check that table and found a couple different correspondence and manifest lists. So it's just those you find. Same
Gotcha.
stuff. I think some people did take them. I don't know if you remember that.
Zavi, I think, might have the paperwork. It's either Zavi or at least Kaya.
Yeah.
But if
So
I
nothing
don't
further beyond that.
if I don't find anything, then I'll lock the one door and then I'll start patching up my shield.
Okay, sounds good. I'll come back to you here in a few seconds. Back down in the other room. What are you guys going to do next?
So, by the time he's done that, I've just kind of gotten his self together, and is going to head towards the dais with the small book that's in front of the forge first. Kind of give that just a quick glance at, and kind of just hold on to it for a minute, and then take it with him while going towards the side table with the larger book, and is going to go into that a bit.
Okay. So you said you're taking a quick glance at the smaller book first before moving over, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Go ahead and make me a Arcana check.
I'll just use my my assurance feat for Arcana, and just make it 18.
Okay. So quickly glancing at this is a newer book than the other one. The other one, quick glance at that, you can see from where you're standing, you can see it's old. But this one is bound relatively with use of modern time. It's still not like years, a couple years old. It's still a couple decades old at least. But this is full of a bunch of different arcane formulas that someone's writing, and you understand this because you've seen real formulas written correctly. The ones you're seeing in this book, some of them are haphazard. They're written poorly, and you start to recognize a couple of them here and there, like, oh, this spell does this, that they wrote it long form instead of simplified, stuff like that. And you kind of get the sense that this person is freehanding their own take on how the spells work. They're a person who's not trained and is trying to understand their own spells, but is just doing it in a very difficult way.
Gotcha.
Whereas if you had training, you'd be able to make things a lot easier. You also find in this book a bunch of spells, real ones, and they are written by someone else. It looks like they were patched into here as an auxiliary spell book. And you find quite a bit of spells in this book. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. You find 9 spells total. So you find Agitate, Thunderstrike, Force Barrage, Flashy Disappearance, Concordant Choir, Biting Words, and those 6 you can tell by reading through them. These are, for mechanics' sake, these are all rank 1 spells. The next 3 you find are Dispel Magic, Shatter, and Acid Grip. And while they're writing that stuff down, Jay, I reminded myself that I need to have you do a crafting check for me.
Gotcha.
For your shield. Because I know you have a
Got
repair
it.
kit.
Nice. And what was 16? And crafting, I'm trained, so that's a +6. That's 22.
22, yeah. Perfect. You good success on that. So you can restore 10 HP to your shield.
Awesome.
It's 5 base and then 5 per proficiency rank. So you're trained, so 5 and 5, 10.
Thank you.
What were the last 3? Dispel Magic, Shatter.
And Acid Grip. Let's see. In this book, you also find a bunch of notes. Like someone's own personal notes on magic, and for a lot of these spells, you see the spell formula on one page, and then on the back of it, you see someone freehand written. And you just get a sense of the person is writing how they feel about each spell when they use it, like what it feels like to them. They're trying to establish feeling with the spells, like trying to gain that kind of understanding. And it makes more sense now, reading the first part of the book with the homemade formulas, that they're trying to attach the emotional aspect of spell work rather than the logistical. And so that's why they're getting it right, because following your emotions or following your heart is a good way of getting into magic, because it's a very internal, very intimate affair. But because they're not following the logical aspect, that's why the spell work looks messy. If that makes any sense. And then after the spells, you find more pages that look like they are an attempt at trying to decipher the Forge. It's someone looking over and drawing some of the, like, all the glyphs that are shown on the Forge in front of you. They're all drawn out, and you can see that a person has been painstakingly trying to decode or translate them, and it's just a series of words that's scratched out, and another word, and that one's scratched out, over and over for all the different glyphs you end up seeing. But this is definitely a research tome, and beyond that, the final thing you see in this book is someone using this forge to augment the magic of their enchanting. This person is taking items and enchanting them, but because they don't have the correct understanding, the enchanting doesn't work. But when they augment it through this forge, it ends up the enchantment attaches to the item, but they realize it's not stable by use of this forge, because their magic and the forge's magic don't work, they don't mesh. So it works, it's just not elegant.
Gotcha.
But that's cursory glance at all that stuff. You can dive deeper, and there's more to it than that. You can take more time to read through it, but that's a base glance of just taking it and flipping through a couple of pages here and there. To make things more, I don't know if it's cool or sad, but I have that entire book written. So, yeah. And you guys saw with that journal, I wrote that whole thing out, so. Anyway, you want to move on to the bigger book, correct?
Correct.
Okay. This book is ancient. It is not made with paper and wood bindings like most books. This is made with leather. The covers are very hard and very thick leather, and then each individual page is paper thin leather, like the heads of the drum. It's not leather or hide. Let me see. Let me double check your guys' language. Check your languages here. See which ones you guys might have.
I don't have many.
Not like some other character I know who has dozens.
He's at 10 right now. He wants to know more.
Check. I want to see what languages would most likely correlate to. Who
Are you thinking?
speaks?
Oh.
Do any of you speak Empyrean? Empyrean.
Actually, I do speak Imperial.
Okay.
All languages, interesting.
And then
Common, Elven, Empyrean, Orcish, and Classic.
And then, does anyone know Akla?
I do.
Alright. So, looking through this, the two of you would have the best idea of what it says. So you can definitively read the words that are in it. What's confusing is the prose. It's written in a very archaic, very weird way. But given time, you can kind of get through it. It's just flavor that's written. But basically, it seems like it's sets of instructions on how to do certain things with the forge. How to get it to work, how to get it to interact. But it's written in a way that the person who reads through it, how do I make this make sense? Do you ever have someone tell you how to do something and they assume you already know bits and pieces of what to do, and you
Yes.
don't? Like someone's like, oh, how do I play a guitar? Oh, well, okay, so here's a B chord, here's an A chord, you have no clue what a chord is? This book is written that way. It makes all these statements about here's how you get this effect out of the forge, here's how you get this effect. You mix this rune and this glyph together. but it doesn't tell you what the glyphs are. It just uses the symbol for them. And so it just makes the assumption that you already know what the symbols mean. But you can get, looking into this, you can find there are things that this forge has effects like extending your life, or upping your physical stamina to your superhuman, super person levels. There are some that make you grow wings, or things of that sort. It's all kinds of ways to augment your body in magnificent ways. And like with common magic, there are some ways to do things like this. But getting through this book, the first couple of pages, you realize that all of these changes that it says it makes are permanent and not affectable. People can't come through and like do magic on you to take the effect away. It's just there. There is a prime. You do find one bit from this that makes the most sense. It does require fuel, and the fuel that it takes is life essence.
Makes sense. Why there's dead bodies.
Now, there's way more to this than just that, but you would have to require a bigger deep dive into the book.
Yeah. Well, this is very interesting. I'd love to read more, but after seeing this large, in a sense, battery, to put it simply, shocked someone by just merely light tapping it, in a sense. I don't feel the utmost comfortable, and feel like I have the utmost time to really dive into these books to learn more about it.
You do find one thing inside that big book that's different.
Okay.
As flipping through it, a piece of parchment falls out. A piece of parchment that's folded numerous ways. It's, if it unfolded, it's actually pretty long. It's like a big scroll that had been unrolled. But this is written in common. And the parchment style is very, very modern. This is new, and it seems to be correspondence between two people. And it becomes immediately noticeable who the two people are that are communicating back and forth in this letter. But they're doing so not in exchange of an actual letter back and forth, but more of like passing notes in school where you just keep tacking on the same paper. And this is probably a way to make secrecy. But it starts off with, M. You need to work in the forge. You need these items running. You can't do it on your own. The forge will help. It doesn't have a tag as a signature. But then the next line is, Sven. I don't know how to work this. I don't understand these glyphs, or these runes, or the language in this book. How am I supposed to work? And then it goes back and forth for a couple different things, talking various ways of trying to get them to, if she says that, it's immediately noticeable who this is. It's Sven and Megara. You would recognize the writing from Megara as the one from the journal.
Mm-hmm.
And overall, it's just them bickering back and forth about needing to use the forge but not being able to understand it. And Megara telling Sven, in your journeys, try to bring me research books. And that's why the one book that she has is filled with her, studies of these different varying books that he's brought her. But what makes things different eventually is Sven has an entry near the bottom that says, M. I made a new friend. Or likely, he made a friend in me. He has knowledge that I have not seen, and knowledge that is not known to even the greatest scholar. And his power is unmatched. He understands these writings, and he has decoded a few for you for free. Decode the rest yourself to prove your worth to him. And it ends up giving 4 glyphs that you can see in this book and on the forge, and then a translation of what they mean. And so the first one you see looks like a letter Y, and it means truth. The second one looks like it's got a flat line at the bottom and then a half circle drawn connecting them. And that one means stasis. The third looks like a cross, or a lowercase t, and that means death. And the fourth, looks like 2 half circles that are like bisecting each other, like kind of like this. Actually, it looks like this. And that means disorder. The next statement is Megara saying, I got some activity from the forge. These translations worked. Who is your new friend? And the very last thing is from Sven. And it says, you will find out soon. His name is the Witch Knight, and he will bring us all together.
Interesting. Hey, does the Witch Knight mean anything to any of the 2 of you who are still here? Kind of out loud, I say.
Who?
It says it's the Witch Knight. Encounters with this individual. What do you know of?
I don't know
I've
the Witch
never
Knight.
No.
Well, looks like the rabbit hole is getting deeper and deeper, as they say. Looks like there was another individual involved in all of this, going by the name of the Witch Knight. Seems a bit full of themselves, but I guess you have to be a little bit when you're academic magic studies. This stuff. Anything interesting over there?
Alright, the 2 of you, while he's been reading the books, what have you guys been doing? And I'm gonna assume that you're going over to like the little workshop-y lab area now, the crates. And tell me if I'm wrong, but I have a feeling that's what you're gonna do.
Yeah.
Who's going for what?
I don't know what I should do, but are there like a bunch of like paperwork or blueprint, anything that looks like it was something somebody was working on or sending back and forth? Any information there?
The laboratory area has a mix of both stuff. It's like research stuff, like, you know, materials and whatnot for what's been going on at the forge, and then there's a bunch of, you know, paperwork all laid around as well. So, cursory glance, you can see all kinds of different types. You can see, you know, some letters. You can see some manifests. You know, you can see just freehand drawings of stuff. That's with a no roll required for ingredients at what you see. If you want to look deeper, we'll do some rolls.
Yeah, I would look deeper to see if anything looks like it'd be relevant to the crystal or Megara or Sven. Anything immediately for what we are encountering right now.
Yeah, go ahead and make a perception check. Kaya, where are you looking?
We'll look in the crates.
Okay. While he's rolling, I'll tell you what you see. Mixed in amongst these crates, you see supplies for someone attempting to stay down here. You see home goods supplies. You actually see some food and whatnot. Some of it's, going bad. Some of it already has gone bad. But it's an attempt to have it be that if someone needs to stay extended periods of time down here, they can. But you also find numerous trinkets. Like, you find rings, and you find necklaces, hoods, capes, all kinds of things. And based on your magical knowledge, these are the most likely answers for what would be enchanted. People go to magic shops looking for things. They're looking for stuff like this. And so putting two and two together, it becomes pretty obvious that these are the items that Megara is going to enchant. But interestingly, I want you to give me a perception roll 2. We'll come back to you after I get his. So what was your total?
Well, I rolled a 6 plus 6 for a 12, but haven't used it yet. Might as well, and I don't know when I'll use it, so I'm gonna use a hero point.
Perfect. Makes perfect sense.
So I rolled a 12 plus 6 for 18.
18. Okay.
That could have been really bad, but
taking a glance at all the paperwork, it just is compounding evidence of manifests between all the different ships that you found that are all under MRM shipping. The ships, if you remember, were Thurumder, the Grand Lady, Haggard Mast, Platinum Sail, and Gilded Mist. And it's just more proof that these items are going to them. These are made to look like official manifests, but it's obvious they're not going to any official. These are just them keeping notes for themselves to make sure they're not messing up smuggling shipments. But the most notable thing you find is correspondence between Sven and one person. One person whose name you immediately recognize because you know them very well. The name is Natasha Morozova.
and that ties it into the last bit. Okay.
The correspondence that you see there are repeated attempts by Sven to coerce her into joining his endeavor. And at first she puts up a fight, and she's resisted and says, no, I will have no underhanded dealings, things of that sort. But eventually time wears her down, and what changes is, in one of the correspondences, you see her say that she appreciated their night out together. And seeing as how he spoke true about a lot of things, she thinks it's time to go ahead and join him on things. And he ends up saying that it's a perfect arrangement. That he has ships that do lots of traveling across the seas, but he doesn't have very good sources taking items on land. And what better to move items around than a traveling circus? Who would ever think to look there? And so, it becomes quickly apparent that she is not the only one involved in this. There are a couple people that are involved in this. And you find that one of the security guards is involved, and they keep an eye on the crowd during your guys' performances to make sure that people aren't getting into the areas where these illicit items are. Her right hand is the performer who uses illusion magic to tell stories, and he helps keep eyes off of the illicit items if somebody should discover them by enchanting the rooms to look like there's nothing in them, or to beguile the people.
His stories were always so riveting, not him. Damn.
And in one of the notices, you find that a certain friend of yours, father, is not involved. However, she has been pressuring him more and more to get involved, with grave threats to him and to Orion. But he has remained completely steadfast that he will have nothing to do with the illicit trade, but has promised not to say anything in exchange for him and Orion's life.
Is there anything that is showing like how long ago this was put together?
Weeks,
Like any of this
months.
information? Okay.
Some of them are dated. Some of them mention specific performances in specific cities that you guys can kind of put the timeline together yourselves of where they were at. The biggest piece of information that you do find is that Orion's dad does know what's happening, and he is not allowed to leave the circus. He is indebted to them for his silence. And that's why he didn't run with all of you.
I'm not gonna tell Orion this now, but it'll be once everything settles down in this right time, then I will let him know.
The last entries in this correspondence you can find talk about going to Alden Air. And it talks about, Natasha mentions, we've mostly stayed on the eastern end of the Republic, going between Alderney, Crown Ruler City, and Terra Anta, which are the continents on the eastern side. But he said that he needed her personally in Ichinata because he has a main port there that he stocks his stuff, a main supply chain, hideout, if you want to call it that as well, that he uses there. And that his ships are docked in such a way that no one can see them from anywhere, unless they are in the port that he uses itself. Hence why he was there, and you didn't see the ship docked in the port. But it mentions that performance, and it mentions that they need a scapegoat. And things are somewhat getting a little suspicious. So why not leave a few items for some unwitting person to find, and maybe put them off so that someone can die, and find some folks from the circus to finger. And it'll take weight off of you and me, is what it says. So at that point, she has not decided to be you three. It is only on the night that you guys performed that it was decided in the conversation you had heard. Pick those three this time. That's when it was figured out.
Alright then.
And then Natasha does ask, can I meet your friend? And a simple response is given, not ready. You also find a letter between Kristoff and Sven. Simply talking about that Kristoff wishes there wasn't a tunnel entrance in his inn because there is a very bad draft and it's annoying. He says that ultimately he does like the change of location because Kristoff's worked with him for a while. You can get that from the writings. They're like old pal writings, and he likes having his own place to run. And it's just normal like friend conversation. It's kind of weird with all this corruption, with all this smuggling, all this weird stuff going on. You just have friendly conversation back and forth. But then it turns a bit dark. And it's near the end of these correspondences, it's talking about Sven's friend. And it says, Kristoff asks, what do you mean as a general? What is a general? And how many are there? And Sven says, those of us who go above and beyond. You are not ready to know the details. And then later on, you kind of get the idea that maybe they had talked about it in person because Kristoff seems to understand better later. And he finishes off with, could Megara or Natasha be a general? And it says, Natasha not ready. Megara, yes, but something needs to happen first. And that's the end of them.
Well, of course, taking everything. I want to have all the documentation. I want to show, what's going on. And then, unless there looks like somewhere else that needs to be gone through, I am going to be making my way back to Orion.
Okay. Kaya, what was the result of your perception roll? What seems like forever ago now. I'm sorry.
I rolled an 18 plus 7 for 25.
Perfect. Absolutely perfect. So, as stated, all the items you see here are items that are set to be enchanted. However, you do find some bits and pieces that feel already enchanted. And they're not the same. These look like they're you end up finding this barrel that's labeled Control. And it's filled with items. Not filled, it's got a couple of items left in it. And through some notes left on the side of the barrel, there's like a little tag on it. It says, items to be used as templates. And so, easily enough to understand, these are items that are enchanted by professional, and they're trying to copy them. There are 4 items left in this barrel. The rest look like they've either been taken or destroyed or something. There are other barrels that say Control, but they're all empty. This one has 4 items in it. 2 of them are pieces of paper that are very detailed notes on runes, which are enhancements you can add to a weapon or armor or item to give it new properties. And you find 2 of them. You find the formula for a returning rune, which, as stated, if you put it on something and throw it, it comes back to you. Above table, in mechanic standpoint, it's an item. It can be added to a weapon that has the thrown property. So if you throw that weapon, it comes right back to you. Easy peasy.
Boomerang.
Yeah. The second one you find is a lesser potency rune. And it looks like it makes attacking with a weapon a bit easier. From a mechanic standpoint, it adds a +1 to an attack roll with a weapon. And because these are formulas, if someone has the proper crafting skill or you find a runesmith, they can use this formula to attach them to an item. And because it's a base formula, you can add them to multiple items. The next two things you find, one's a flute, and you'd have to go into it a little bit to kind of understand it, but it does have some magic to it, and it seems like it might be able to do some sort of spell work, but maybe not the best idea until you have it identified. But the last thing is a wand, and it has a tag on it that somebody wrote out, and it says Wand of Heal. So from a mechanic standpoint, it is a wand that once a day lets you cast the heal spell. Although you can overcharge it to do it again, however you have a risk on the overcharge of it burning up and no longer being usable. But you find all of those things, and they are freely takeable.
Yeah, I'm taking them all.
Unless you want to leave them here as evidence.
Nope, I'm taking them all.
Easily doable. Alright.
Bodies, leave them. Treasure, taken.
So, you guys have essentially gone through the entire area down here. Unless you want to spend more time doing like an archaeological study. This is about all there is to find. Ryan and Zabi are up at the top. Kaya and Toa, are you going to join, or are you going to stay down here for a little bit?
I think Toa would just last thing before he leaves. He just wants to double check this battery, see if it's unstable and has the potential of unexpected detonation.
Okay.
And
I will say, to get a deep understanding of it, you will have to touch it. And then you'll be roll acquired.
okay.
So, put a hand on it,
Yeah.
and then do an Arcana check.
Alrighty. I'm just gonna do my assurance, so that way at least
Okay, 18 is enough. So because you already know about these batteries, the DC is ended up being lower. So it was going to be 20. It is now 15 because you have previous knowledge. So getting a feel into this, really getting into it, you know, as I said earlier, that these batteries are created for specific people and to use the specific traditions of magic. Arcane, primal, occult, and divine. I didn't say those in alphabetical order, and now it bothers me. Arcane, divine, occult, primal. Better. And so when they're created, they only have one tradition built into it. This has all four. And they are not working together. Which is a bit odd, because there are spells that fall under all four, or more than one tradition. But in this battery, they're not working well together. It's chaotic, it's unstable, but it's only unstable to the point of when it's used, it takes way more life essence than it would if it was just a single tradition. And if it's used improperly, it reacts improperly. Hence, if it's hit, boom, it goes off. But getting a base feel of it, even though it's chaotic and it's weird working together, it's in no risk of like imminent implosion.
Okay.
But if it was repeatedly used over and over and over again, maybe.
Sure. Okay. But good news, it won't explode if we don't use it. Best way to describe it. So, don't use it.
Oh, that makes me want to use it.
Do you want
I
to?
said,
No, I don't want to. No,
don't
you got
use
way
it.
too excited. No, I'm not doing that.
Okay,
It's like,
fine. Don't use it.
Now I want to use it.
Do you?
Now
It's not even.
I've already
Anyone
looked
want
at
to
it and
use
went.
it?
I've already went and looked at it and went to and was like, no, I'm not gonna do anything with this. So.
Okay. Alright, so Kaya and Toa, are you guys going back up to join the others?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Perfect. So, all four of you are together. You have lots of information to share, and by this time, Orion, you are finished preparing your shield. It takes 10 minutes, I think, to do that. So you're finished at this point. What would you guys like to do next?
I'm gonna go over to the guy who I was attacking with the tooth fairy, and I want the tooth that it tried to pull out.
Okay. Make a thievery check.
What you doing over there, Kaya?
Kaya's way too focused to answer.
You trophy hunting?
Does she do this often?
This is a first.
No, yeah, this is definitely a first.
Maybe she always wanted to be a dentist.
15?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was already mostly out before, so it's a little messy, but it comes out.
Ooh.
Okay, and I'm gonna pull one of my hooded lanterns from my backpack, and I'm gonna stick it in there, and I'm gonna put it back.
Okay, I know what the point of that is. So the guy that had the tooth pulled, he was the dude who was knocked out. So when you pull that tooth, he immediately wakes up and starts screaming in pain.
Yeah, I punch him in the face just to knock him
I
out.
was gonna say I slap him reactionarily, like just
So
look.
You just
slap,
feel pulled.
bonk, bonk. Yeah, I'm not gonna make any attack rolls. He's out. He's out again. He's incapacitated. He can't fight back.
I just see Kaya on him, pull a tooth out. He screams. She goes, ah, smack, out. Okay.
Yeah, he's out again. It's no problem.
That was unexpected.
Well, what do you expect when you were pulling out his teeth?
Well, I
I
thought he
do
was just
agree with the right.
Anyway, Kyle, why are you pulling out his teeth?
well, I have to, it wanted it, so I have to give it back to it.
So it's like a
It
summoning
only wanted
deal.
one tooth too, so it's not like it was the whole mouth.
I mean, he was already bleeding from it anyway.
It would have come out anyway. It would have been gross eventually. It would have gotten infected.
I
Doesn't have good dental
actually
care.
saved him, so
How kind of you.
Well,
Most likely, actually.
I don't know about magic, but if it's like a kind of a deal with you and the little tooth fairy, sure. Just give me a heads up about it next time.
they prefer children's teeth. Did you know? We always used to burn our teeth, but did you know if you plant one in the ground where fairy activity is, one will be born?
You're
Do they
not
only
gonna
go
plant
after?
that.
I was gonna say, do they only go after bad people? I'd be fine if it's after bad people.
No. They
Define
want
bad.
the teeth.
Does
Everyone.
God come down here and ask? Just appear to me and just ask Dromar, define bad. Like, look,
All I
just
think
just.
all I can think of is Bartleby and Loki, and just you didn't say God bless you when I sneeze. Ah, no.
So Kai, I have to ask, did you simply put, like, you said you simply put the tooth in the hooded lantern and put the hooded lantern away, right? You're not doing anything else with it.
No, not right now.
Okay.
Anyway,
I gotcha.
The 3 people are tied up correctly, right?
Yes.
All right. I asked all of them, did you guys find anything out?
Oh, I found some things. I found ruins and a wand.
I
And
found things that might help us.
menacingly go and point it at somebody. And then I go, just kidding. It's healing. Probably. That's what the tag says.
Probably.
You just see Zavi just like lean back when you start doing that, like. But Zavi just goes, I found more evidence to clear our names.
That's good.
That's great.
That was pretty good in unison.
Yeah.
I don't know who those two were, but that was pretty good.
I heard that. Above table, I heard that. I was just like, oh, snap. That was like 1 second off. But I looked, Orion looks to Zavi. Perfect. Does it say anything about the ringmaster or anything?
Yes, it dives into that. I have more to tell you, but later on.
Understood. So the bigger question is, what do we tell the prefect of this city? Because from what I can tell, there's already corrupt officials, and considering what we read from the diary, the city lord seems to be even more corrupt.
I'd say we just go talk to them and let them know what we found, and don't bring any more information about what happened with us over across the water unless it gets brought up to us. We just let that go, and they don't need to know any information that is not pertinent to what we're doing right now.
I agree.
That makes
You
sense.
think so?
I think we can let them know, but we can clear our name, but we need to, let them know what's going on down here. And then as we're telling them about all the corruption, we go, yes, and we're doing this because we were involved because of evidence.
See, I think that makes
Ah.
shady and underhanded if we lie to them and not tell them up front.
It's not lying, it's withholding unnecessary information at the time.
Well,
Well,
I think it's
I-
entirely necessary
he's-
information.
I think he's gearing towards its leverage.
Yes.
Well, as a suggestion, maybe we start off with telling the prefect that there's a very large,
Smuggling ring?
unstable, battery that's been used in the smuggling ring.
Yeah, definitely that.
Probably as a good starting point, as get our foot in the door, and we can work our way from there.
Take
Also
care of
about
the here and now.
That's what I'll tell them. And I
I'll-
start walking away.
also about the innkeeper as well. We don't know when he's about to walk down through those doors, but I already locked the door just to make sure.
Well, we gotta leave here somehow.
That's
I-
where we're
I-
gonna lock it, and I'll stay here with the people. Who wants to go
So
up?
I be like, well, I guess I'd go with Kaya because she seems to already be off on her way.
I'll
She's
be like,
trying to
oh,
open
hey,
the door.
Bobby, can you give me those papers? Just, so I have all of the stuff with me.
I'm just holding him like, voice of reason is telling me Toa.
If you want to give them to me, if they make you feel better, I will.
I look at Kaya and go, be subtle.
Subtle is my middle name. And I walk away.
Talking to the
So,
gnome with the multicolored hair, correct? I just want to make sure I'm remembering correctly. Or is it bright one color?
It's bright red and
It's bright red, okay.
blue,
figured
pink,
it
and
was.
purple.
Yeah.
So I take it that Toa and Kaya are going to talk to people.
Yeah.
Orion and Zavi, are you staying here to kind of keep watch on the area?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay.
And as soon as they leave, I lock that door.
Cool. So let's handle the two of you first. While they're gone, is there anything that you guys want to do or talk about?
This is where I'm going to, since we are alone, I'm going to fill in the information about his father and how he knew how his father is trapped there and possibly in danger because Orion got away. We don't know, but I mean, we are going to need to go back and check on him, but it's not going to be safe for us any way possible. Or maybe we go speak to the person in the desert that he had mentioned, because that may be his way of getting out or saving whatever he can.
Well, considering we have to take in the initial factor of once we prove our innocence, then if anything, that circus is going to be targeted and hunted around by officials from a lot of cities. So I can only imagine what's going to happen at that point.
Very true.
And then there's also the question of what's going to happen now, considering we busted through Sven's holy smuggling rush operation. We pretty much exposed him for doing illegal trades and information gathering, as well as conspiracy.
I just remembered one thing, but that's neither here nor there. Sven's not gonna be happy. I already know. He's already on the hunt for us, and he's just gonna keep coming back. Anyone that he knows is probably gonna be on the lookout for us, and probably something like a prize given out to whoever can take us out.
Bounty hunters, grand.
Basically. We are gonna have to be on the lookout for that, but also he's gonna be on the run himself. So we'll see how far he's willing to go with this.
Okay. Anything else to add before I flip over to these two guys?
Nothing at the moment, but yeah, I'm good.
Yep, I'm good.
Alrighty. Kaya and Toa, you guys make your way out into the tunnel. You guys obviously remember where all the traps were, so you're able to avoid the ones you haven't tripped. And make your way. Are you guys planning to go to the tunnel in the inn, or back to the tunnel you first came in through?
The first
tunnel
one.
we first came. As
Okay.
we're walking through the tunnel, I'm just like, is Subtlety really your middle name?
No, I don't have a middle name.
I just wasn't sure. I've been told so many names by your group. That's double check.
Very true. Yeah.
Does Kaya change color this time to bright pink?
She's already pink. Her skin is pink.
I thought it was blue.
No, my outfit is. I have a blue jacket and purple and pink outfit, but my skin is pink.
When we get to the prefect, I would maybe suggest it's not that I don't trust you, it's just maybe I should take a bit of the lead since you are the one with the kind of wanted status in a sense. If you kind of understand.
But I think that helps me in this instance.
It might not get us close to the prefect as we might need, though. Is kind of getting.
Oh, I got a plan. Don't worry, Toa.
Oh, I'm curious to see this. Alright. So you guys head through the tunnels, and you come to the ladder going up into the basement of the Harbor Master's office. Um, get up to the top, flip open the false crate, and climb out. The basement is empty, just as you guys had left it. It's really not even been that long. It's only been maybe like an hour or two since you guys have come down here. But you can actually still smell a bit of smoke in the air because it's still the same day as the disaster. When you guys start making your way towards the ladder that goes up into the main hall of the building, once you get right to the crest of the door, like the trap door, the hatch that goes top, the ground level, you do hear some people talking. On the other side, there's some folks saying, and you can hear them pretty plain as day, saying, the building looks to be stable. We should be able to very easily keep this building intact. Even the things on the inside seem mostly undamaged by smoke. And another says, did you hear that the harbor master was found? Some random citizen of the town found her and healed her, and she's safe now. And another person says, I kind of wish she would have died. We don't need to have her around anymore. And someone says, that's fucked up, dude. That's not cool. Like, we don't wish death on people. And just hush conversations like that.
Okay. I'm gonna push it open.
But are we in the basement, or is this before we get into the basement?
This is in the basement, right before the hatch to the ground floor, the entryway.
Okay, so like we're next to like the wine bottles and stuff like that, right?
The wine bottles are across the room from the ladder. From
Okay.
where you guys
Yeah. Before we do anything, I cast prestidigitation on us and clean us up a little bit, so it doesn't look like we just went through a trap channel. And
We dove through the dirt.
yeah,
And
I shook it off.
and unalive people.
I did that in an instance. I didn't get any blood on me. Well, maybe from the tooth.
Yeah, that's probably got you some. All right. So you guys are essentially cleaned up, and Kaya, you said you're just gonna floop right out in the open. Okay. As soon as you do, immediately visible are 4 guards, 4 like town patrol guard, and they're all taken aback. There's a mix. One is a minotaur, one is a human, one is an elf, and one is a Venara. And all of them are just, oh shit!
Oh,
We didn't know
sorry.
anyone was down there.
Yeah.
Who are you?
Oh, I'm the person who found the harbor master and healed her.
So the human is the one that speaks and says that, and he turns bright red. He says, "You heard our conversation."
Yeah, it's okay. I really need to talk to the prefect and the city lord.
You're requesting an audience with the city lord and the prefect.
Yes, I have some information about the explosion and everything. It has to do with the platinum sail and Captain Sven, who was supposed to be in port but wasn't today.
Okay, I'm gonna have you make 2 rolls. One is perception.
Spears at the ready. Joe is just like, oh boy.
okay, we're going.
Honesty is sometimes the good policy, not shady underhandedness.
Well, there's a
All right,
slight difference.
what am I
from
rolling?
a city guard.
So first perception.
All right, that's a 13 plus 7 for a dirty 20.
Perfect. The Venara, the elf, and the human are like, it seems big. The Minotaur, you can glean that he's like, he starts acting a little shifty. Like, he kind of gives this look in his eyes like she knows. But then you can see his eyes dart to the other three, and he quickly straightens himself and shakes his head slightly, you know. But that's the first one. The second one, make a diplomacy roll.
Alright, that is a 16 plus 8 for a 24.
Yeah, absolutely. This is actually a hard DC, so that's good. The DC was 20. So the human has been doing the primary amount of talking kind of takes that information in, and he says, "The City Lord and the Prefect have been getting a lot of requests for audiences throughout the day, as you would imagine, with a disaster of this caliber. And you seem to have credible information. Come with me." And he says to the other three, "Keep your posts and keep looking around the area to see what else is damaged, and report back to Jara at the first notice." And he says, "The two of you follow me."
Okay. As we walk and follow him, I'm gonna say, you should definitely hold that Minotaur. Because there was another guard who was down in the smuggler's tunnel. He's unconscious, so there may be more that are involved. He acted
He kind
shifty.
of, he actually stops and he goes, "Wait, really?"
Yeah,
I guess. Yes.
this is a big deal. Also, Kristoff at the inn, he's involved as well.
Okay.
I don't want anyone running away from this.
Sorry. I
Well,
should ask.
let's go and report that information. That seems like a very big deal.
Can I get your name for a second, Mr. City Guard? I don't think we actually introduced ourselves. Name is Toa. This is Aya. And you are.
Oh, my name is Brandon.
Pleasure to meet you. Are you you seem to have some bit of authority, it seems like.
Oh no, I just decided to do that in that moment, and it felt right.
Oh,
They didn't argue.
You did a good job. It was very convincing.
taking the initiative.
I'm trying
That's always,
to get my name out to be, to get a promotion. So.
Hey, you
To rank
hanging
up.
out, and that might be looking up for you. I'm just saying.
Yeah, I mean, it's.
Maybe we'll get the prefect involved first, and then we'll go to the.
Yes,
work our way
absolutely.
back. Right.
Let us do that. And this Brandon, you can see he has armor on, but he has no helmet. He looks like a dude, bro. Definitely looks like a dude, bro. Sandy blonde hair, tan skin. You know the thing.
You have very nice features, very symmetrical.
He goes, I've never heard that one before. Shall we keep moving? And he
Yes,
just starts
please.
fucking pressing. He keeps flipping between hey, these guys are complimenting me on my ability to be a guard. Now she's talking about my face. They're both cool and weird, and he doesn't know what to do. So he takes you to the keep. You guys wind your way through city, and eventually get to the Hooked Manor. And from your direction, you end up coming up to a very a high walled-in section of the city. And Toa, you've been here long enough; you recognize this.
Yeah.
The Hooked Manor is ringed by a large wall around the outside of it, a fortified stone wall with a few parapets here. And he walks you around the front, around the side of the gated area, the walled area, and you get to the main gates. And outside of the gates are closed. There's a few guards standing there in front of the gates, and there's probably about 150 to 200 people, all varying different ancestries. they're all in a cacophony of talking, trying to ask questions, saying, when will the city lord do something? When will the prefect do something? We need an official statement. It's been hours since the disaster, and nothing's happened yet. People are dying. People are missing. All kinds of that. Is there any way of covering my damaged property? Just all kinds of questions. And the guards are doing their best to try to keep people calm, but yet let them know their voices are being heard. And there is one guard who seems to be taking statements from people. He has this book, and he's writing down things from various people. This guard is a Vinara, and they seem to be getting frazzled because the requests are just getting innumerable. And he's trying to write as fast as he can, and it's just kind of difficult. And eventually 4 people, you guys can see, just kind of crowd around him all at once, screaming different things at him. And he goes, "Enough!" And he runs over to the gate and actually climbs up it a little bit, uses his tail to kind of hang on. And this guy has very, very jet black fur all over his body. And he kind of has the features of like a howler monkey. And you see his dewlap enlarge a little bit, and he starts screaming out to people who all can hear, and saying, "We will take your needs in an orderly fashion. I need everyone to form a line with any complaints or statements, and we will get to these in an orderly fashion. Please stop yelling at all of us. We're doing the best we can. The city lord and the prefect will make a statement when they feel necessary. Please have faith in them." And the crowd actually goes quiet for a few seconds, and then breaks out into small murmurs. And weirdly, you actually see people start forming a kind of a line. There are some people that yell out randomly, but people do that. He climbs back down, and he stands at the front of the gate, and he kind of shakes his head out, and pulls the book out. And as he does that, the guard arrives that's with you, Brandon. And he comes over and he says, "Hugh, I need to get into the gate with these 2 individuals." "Brandon, why?" "These 2 individuals have information, and they need to share it immediately. It's information relating to the disaster. They know a lot of things about it. We need to get in." And he goes, No, I can't just let you in. We can't do that. We've been told to hold off meetings until the prefect and the city lord come out and say it themselves." And let's see. Brandon looks at Hugh and says, "When that caravan of ladies came through, I remember you were supposed to be at the docks, but you weren't." And Hugh says, "Damn it, fine." And he opens the gate and lets them through.
Oh, thank you.
Brandon,
And,
you are my kind of guy.
He goes, "Yeah, well, now I don't have anything on him. Hope it's worth it. You guys better have some good information."
Oh, don't worry, we're gonna take care of him.
They have nothing.
So, he walks you guys through the courtyard area. Beautiful gardens in this area. The centerpiece is a very nice, humongous weeping willow tree with all kinds of different flowers around the bottoms of it. And then eventually you guys get to the main door of the manor itself, and there's still some more guards outside, and they just let you walk past. You made it this far, they figure you're supposed to be here. And you walk in to the big, huge double doors. The inside of the keep, the manor, it's a grand entry hall with a beautifully ornate and humongous staircase that goes up and splits off in 2 directions in front of you. On the inside is a sort of like a check-in area where there's a counter with a few people standing there. Although they seem to be kind of just leaning up against the wall because they don't have anything to do. Because the manor has been closed down to public appearances. But as soon as somebody walks in, they perk up and they say, "What do you need?" And Brandon says, I need to have these two talk to the City Lord and Prefect. They have information. And the one person walks over and says, she seems to be like the person in charge. And this very elderly elf lady, and she looks at the three of you and says, no, absolutely not.
I know who was behind the explosion at the docks, and I know the people they're involved with. And this really needs to be brought to the prefect's attention specifically.
Then you may write down information you know. Leave it with us, and we will turn it over.
Okay, I don't have time for this. Well, my name is Torzora Sylvanus. I am the grandson of the Sylvanus, the prefect of the Orico Prefecture, and I have some information that I would like to discuss with the prefect at this time, and I feel like it would be very important for you to bring us to the prefect at this time so I can relay this information as I pull out my Sylvanus family crest. And it's kind of tucked into my jacket.
She looks at it for a few seconds,
It's genuine.
and she says, I am from Troiko, which, as you might know, is the city to the east of Lokibo.
Oh,
So I am a citizen of Koriko Prefecture.
I'm very aware. A lovely
And I
city.
recognize this seal, and I recognize your name.
Oh, that's good.
Give me a moment.
Perfect. That's all I need.
And she shuffles off and goes up the stairs and disappears. And a good number of minutes passes by. And eventually she comes back down, completely ignores the three of you, walks over to the counter and writes some things down on these like necklaces with paper attached to them. And she hands them to the two of you and says, these are passes that will allow you access.
Perfect.
Follow me.
Thank you. After you.
And the three, you two with the woman start walking away, and Brandon just kind of starts kicking his heels and like you're looking around, and as they're walking, she doesn't turn around. She goes, "You too," and he, trundles on behind you guys, all giddy. And you guys make your way upstairs, a couple different flights, and through a couple of different hallways, and eventually you come to this very ornate wing of the manor house. And everything obviously is ornate in this area, but this whole manor, but in this specific area, it's much grander. You come to this small hall that has a couple different nice lounging couches on either side of the walls, and then there's a set of double doors. And she says, "Wait here," and walks into the doors. And then a moment later, they both open, and she says, with a bow, "You may enter," and she leads past you guys.
Thank you kindly. One thing you'll notice about Toa's stance and stature is he is way more rigid in the way he's acting and the way he is presenting himself. Not as much of a friendly smile on his face as well, but leading with a bit more rigidness than he does.
Okay. So you guys make your way into this room, and it seems to be a meeting hall. There are a few different tables set up in various positions, with nice seats. So you may take seats if you want, but directly across from you are a couple of other chairs with desks in front of them, or tables in front of them. Large, ornate chairs. One bigger than the rest, one slightly bigger than the others. but not as big as the first one, and the rest all about the same size. And seated at the largest one is a very delicate, but bit stoic-looking human woman, roughly in her 50s. Very, a very nice hint of potentially could go a nice silver, but hasn't started yet in her hair. No signs of wrinkles, but you can tell her age just by the way she holds herself. And she's dressed in an elegant green. I wouldn't call it a robe, but like a dress/robe. But there's also a little bit of intense, I wouldn't say pain, but just discomfort in her eyes. And then, seated next to her is another human about the same age-ish, but his salt and pepper is showing through a bit more. He's wearing nice enough clothing, but it seems to be a bit over the top for this occasion. Clean-shaven, but very fierce eyes. And the woman speaks first. She says, "My name is Laura Torin. I am the prefect for this area. And this is the city lord of Hookhandle, Dorian Kane. What, pray tell, is such an emergency, beyond all that has happened in this city, that the two of you and one of our guards would need to talk to us this quickly?"
I bow my head and I say, well, me and my friends, one of which is right here, have found the reason for the disaster that has happened. And I pull out Megara's journal and the investigation note about the election, and I hand it to her, along with the notes that we got from Sven down in the smuggler's tunnel.
So
You read through that, it will paint a very clear picture of what has occurred in this town.
And so a guard walks over.
I would
Go ahead.
I would start with the journal.
So a guard walks. There's a few guards in here. I forgot to mention that. One of them walks over, grabs the stuff, and brings it over to her. And she starts reading through it. And she reads through it herself. And it's dead silent, unless one of you guys wants to interject. And it gets to a part where, like, her eyes, widen and then do all kinds of weird stuff, and eventually they narrow real tight. And she's looking at this book, reading like this, and she just looks over with this dagger look right at Dorian. And he looks at her and goes, "What? Why are you staring at me?" And she finishes the journal, puts it down, and starts going through some of the other notices, the things you could share. And as you said, a picture begins getting painted in her mind. And she stands up and she says, "How much of this are you able to verify?"
Oh, well, there's a smuggler's tunnel that we've been in. There's also a guard that's currently knocked out down there because you've got some guards that are involved on it. Brandon, I told you about the one that was acting shifty when we started coming over here, right? Yeah, there's a Minotaur one that was acting shifty, and Kristoff, well, Kristoff is involved. There's also some bodies down there of some citizens that got murdered. But two of my companions are down there with the unconscious people. Unfortunately, some people, some pirates did attack and they did get murdered. Well, killed during the fight, but we did keep 3 of them alive. So they're down there watching them currently.
"I don't recognize you. How long have you been in town?"
I came into town last night. The ship we came on got, I believe, mostly sunk.
And Mr. Sylvanas,
Yeah.
I recognize you. You've been in town for quite some time. How did you get involved with
But
this?
I happen to be assisted by this crew in helping preserve your wonderful city while attempting to control the flames and sort of keep the damage to a minimum and doing the best we could. Certain things were uncovered, and during that time we decided it was in our best interest to investigate and see where these things led, and such it led us to a tunnel from your harbor master's abode, and led us to a quite peculiar site, a forge with some very unstable magic involved, which is why I decided to come here under the rule of prefect and under the use of my name, Sylvanas. So I wish to make this understandably clear using my family's name, that I can verify that I have seen all this firsthand, and I'm more than willing to escort you down to show you so you can see it for yourself, and make sure that everyone who is involved is held accountable for their actions as I begin to look at the city lord. And you can be assured that you have the entire support of the prefect of my grandfather support.
And at that point, Dorian notices you look at him, and he goes, "What was that for?" And he looks at Laura and goes, "What is happening? What evidence did they bring?" And she says, "See for yourself." And she actually tosses the journal at him, and it kind of slams down.
How
And
tall
he
is the
looks-
table?
The table that they're sitting at is probably about 5-6 feet high. They're up higher.
I'm gonna.
But you're 10-15 feet away.
Okay.
Yeah, you were back.
You're separated. It's kind of, think of it like a courtroom almost. So he says, "Well, what is this?" And she says, "That would be the journal of Megara Robin, with first-hand accounts of what you have done to her." And he turns pale, and then beet red. He says, "Are you making accusations at me?" And she says, "Well, yes, I thought that was apparent." She ends up standing up, and she says, "Jorah," and one of the guards who was actually seated alongside with them, you see that he has a sash that signifies him as an officer. She says, "Jorah, you and your men are hereby ordered for the immediate arrest of City Lord Dorian Kane, his steward, who is also sitting here on the other side of Dorian. His steward, Darnuli Gamel, Megara Robin, who I believe is recuperating, and Christoph Halam. And we're going to do an investigative look into our entire patrol force." And as she's saying all this, Dorian's yelling, trying to protest, and she's just continuing, "I'm in control here, you're not." you shush. And the whole entire place is getting heated with her continuing. At a moment's notice, Dorian slams his hands down on the table and says, "This proof isn't enough for me." And Laura says, "It is for me. Jara, your duties, please." And a bunch of guards all swarm. The doors open. Some guards come in from behind you guys, and 3 guards get Dorian, 3 get the steward, and the other 6 are told to go to the cathedral and get Megara. As well as the 3 are going to other 3. She says, "You're coming with me and these citizens." And she says, "The 2 of you are going to escort me down into these tunnels, and I'm going to see for myself what you want to show me."
Of course, it would be more than
And she says, "Now this forge, Mr. Savanas, that you have found, you said it might be unstable. Is that correct?"
It's unstable magic when used.
Right.
like-
Then we must move quickly. This is a dire emergency.
I very
And she
much
says,
agree.
she calls somebody else over. It looks like her steward, and she talks to him briefly. He's a halfling, and if you guys want to try to hear the conversation, you can do a perception check. If you don't care, I'll move on.
I'll check. I want a neb nose.
A neb nose.
All right, 19 plus 7, 26.
Absolutely. You hear her say, "EK, I need you to go find the sending stone for the society, and I need you to call them and let them know that we have an emergency to send 2 investigators at the moment, now." And Little Halfling says, "Understood," and runs off into a set of double doors behind where they were sitting. And she says, the 2 of you follow me."
Of course.
And Brandon just kind of goes, "What should I do?" And she says, "Follow 2. An extra guard would not hurt." And the 4, I guess it's 7 of you, start making your way throughout the keep. 3 guards, 3 unnamed guards, plus Brandon, plus the 2 of you and Laura. You guys can hear all this arguing and yelling as you walk away down the hall from Dorian and his steward. She makes you follow her, and she goes to a part that you guys didn't go to. She's not taking you back down. She takes you to a separate part of the manor house, and she says, "I need not hear word back. We're going to see them immediately." And so she takes you to this area where there's a set of doors that she unlocks, goes in. It's this huge waiting area that has a bunch of nice lounges, and there's a bunch of bookcases. Like, it's just an area to chill, kind of like a living room.
Right.
And then she walks over to another door and waves across it, and you can see it shimmer for a few seconds before swinging open. She says that one was magically locked, and she takes you into the next room. She says to follow her, unless you don't want to. You don't go with her. But in this room, there is a large circle on the ground that is drawn very ornately with all kinds of arcane runes, or arcane symbols. And she says, "And now we wait for a few moments." And she sits down at a nearby chair and just kind of waits. The guards standing nearby and kind of like flanking her in case anyone does anything. She sits in this position like, "You can ask me if you want, but I'm not going to tell you unless you ask."
It's for the Society of the Unseen Sun, right?
"Why, yes, it is, young gnome. Are you familiar?"
Yes. I'm not a part of it, but I know some people.
Fair enough. And then, unless you guys have anything else to ask, she waits, and time goes by. About 10 minutes goes by. And then you guys feel something. You feel this rush of air, and you see the symbols on the floor start to glow in a big pattern, and the teleportation circle activates, and a big blast of light comes out of it for a few seconds, and then it clears. The whole room stops, the wind moving and everything, and when you look up, 2 people are standing there. One is a older elven man with slick black hair and very, very tight facial features, very, very stoic, and he has his hands behind him in a very posh manner. And there is a book open, floating behind him. It looks like a wizard's book, and it seems to move every once in a while. The second person is a human, and she is wearing elegant. Well, they used to be elegant. They look like they have dirt and plant smear and things like that all over it, and robes. And her hair it's nice, but it's full of like vines and flower petals and whatnot. And they're every once in a while you see an ethereal butterfly float in front of her face, or maybe a couple at a time. And she seems to be just airily looking around. Doesn't seem to focus on one thing at all. And the elf steps out and introduces himself, and he says, "My name is Akihara. This is my associate, Deidre. We are from the Society of the Unseen Sun. We are lead investigators. We hear you have something in town that could be dangerous, and we're here to look into it." And Laura says, "Yes, we do. These 2 individuals have found it. Let's talk on the way." And Deidre speaks up and she says, "Okay, this should be fun." And the 2 of them start following. What would you say, Toa?
Is that it very much is.
Before we start moving, I go, Akihara! And then I go, I'm just kidding, I'm not gonna hug you.
He says, "Good. I would not have wanted it. Not that I do not like you, it's just that I'm professional. This is a particular meeting. But I do must impress, what all have you found? And if you want to, for the sake of brevity, you can just say, we fill them in with everything. On the way. That's fine."
Yeah. I kind of focus more so on this, especially the forge, with its 4 using of the 4 kind of magic sources in a sense. That's more so what I focus on.
So someone's created a battery that has fused all the traditions together into one.
Correct.
That seems wildly inappropriate.
Oh, very much so.
I don't even know how to begin doing that. Much less why. But you say you found something of Exodus era magic.
Believe it seems to be of that era, correct.
That would make sense. Their magic is alien, foreign to us. They were people back then, yes, but the magic they used does not match any magic known today. The signatures are completely different. And so, maybe having all 4 of these together in one is trial and error. See if one works and one doesn't. I guess.
There's definitely a possibility.
That's a cursory theory, at least. And so, he just chit-chats with you about Exodus era stuff as you guys walk. Deidre, again, focusing on absolutely nothing, and you kind of get the idea of how does she move? Something's making her move in a direction that's not running her into things. But you guys go your way and eventually make it down back into the tunnels. But we'll get there in a second. Details. You have something to say, Kaya?
Yes. As we're walking, I'm gonna remember that Ahiri mentioned that he let Deidre down, and so I'm gonna ask, hey Deidre, how is the Ahiri doing?
You know Ahiri?
Oh
How?
yeah, cause me and my friends the two that are down in the tunnels, we kind of fixed the naiad problem that got created.
That was you.
Mhm.
Oh, how wonderful. He's fine. He's sad, but he's fine.
Well, that's good. I'm glad.
Yeah. He's not with us anymore.
I kind of figured he might be.
Yeah. He doesn't fit the standard. And she just ignores you unless you keep engaging.
During this time, Noah is like trying to keep a hold of Moko as Moko is trying to go after the butterflies that are flying around Deidre's head. Because he sees those flying around, those little butterflies. Not for you.
He's definitely strange because, like, they're not solid, and so every once in a while they completely disappear for a few seconds and then pop back in, and that's gonna be a funny visual.
Yeah.
But anyway, so you guys end up getting to the harbor master's office, and she says there must be Laura says, is there a hatch going to the basement, or going from the basement?
There is. Right.
So the hatch is open, everybody climbs down, this big grouping of people, and she says, okay, now what?
Down the path, we did run into a few traps. They should be disarmed, but it's best to keep a decent spread just as an extra precaution.
So they, flip open you guys flip open the crate and they see the ladder and you guys all come down at a time.
Yep.
The book that's floating in the air behind Akihara ends up illuminating and making a light for all of you to see. And you all start making your way down the hallway, and Deidre says, stop. And as I said, she's always looking around like this. She's just kind of airily looking. But in a moment when she says stop, she stares straight forward, her eyes turn green for a second, like glowing green. And in a very, very focused voice, she says, there are more traps than you realized. And
That could be
she
true.
points to 12 different spots in the walls. And you guys had been very lucky to not step on the ones. I was doing secret checks to see if you guys did. And she points at all the different spots where they are, and Akihara steps forward, raises his hand and does this, and a bolt of light flies out, and at these 12 different points, 3 of which you guys had already seen, they glow and then erupt into fire, and then fizzle out. And he goes, taken care of.
In the meantime, I just look at Orion. Do you hear something?
Yeah, you definitely heard that.
I'm resting. Right now, I'm resting so I get my HP back, because I'm still at
You will
7
not.
HP. Damn it!
You gotta rest for 8 hours to get any HP
Suck.
back. There are no short rests in Pathfinder.
That's what you learn about this, folks. There are no short rests. You either just have potions or you get ready to get knocked down a lot of times.
Alright, so, the 2 of you, let's go to you guys. It's been too quiet for you guys, and I feel bad. There's been a lot going on. So, you guys hear that, and you hear people coming towards you. Obviously, you don't know who they are. But how did you react to this?
I'm very cautious about it because I know that, hopefully Toa and Kayak come back. But also we have done some things here. So depending on who they talk to, we might be dealing with other people. So I'm just a little apprehensive.
All in all, you guys have been down here waiting for Kai and Toa to return about an hour and 20 minutes.
A lot of things that I was
Just to
talking
get time.
to Orion about were the details that I found. The connections from Sven to Megara
Drink
to
that,
Natasha to the Mistress and Witch Knight, and also there was a piece of information that we saw, and now it's making me wonder because there was a note that mentioned when they were talking about the generals about Megara. Was there any hint of what needed to be done for her to become a general?
It simply said something needs to happen first. No other context given in any other note.
All right.
Well, maybe it has to do with something with the dream. Think about it. It led her to her magical powers. Maybe it has to do above that. Maybe she needs to truly tie in to what she was feeling. Uh, does Orion? Okay, Orion is a fighter, but does he know anything about the arcane in the sense of dragons?
That's actually a very good question. There actually is a check that you can do to see if you can guess that, and I know it's in here. Let me see. Where's that? There it is. Here we go. Go ahead and give me an Arcana check. Or religion. One of the two.
I'll go with Arcana. I'm gonna use my hero point to re-roll that because that was a 2.
Just be aware, whenever you use your hero point, you have to use the second number. There is no
Yes.
maybe, no.
Well, I'm gonna use the second number because that is a 16 plus 2. That makes it 18.
Okay. So in her dream, she talks about there's some identifying things that you can kind of put together from the dream. She talks about the fact that she was a dragon with red scales, and she talks about breathing fire. Now there are 8 types of dragons that are known in the world. You might not be familiar with all of them, but given that, you can narrow this down to one type of dragon, a diabolic dragon. They are known as being immensely evil, and they're definitely on the divine spectrum, and they're the aspects of the evil divine given into animalistic form. There are some people that think that diabolic dragons are the souls of other dragons that have been reborn in the hells.
I recall my with a bit of arcane, and I recall a poem about different types of dragons. One poem in describing the destruction of this type of dragon. Considering I bring that up to Azavi and tell him that this might be the connection. Maybe she hasn't fully grown into her power, and that's why she's not. She will be ready once she fully goes into her power. Because considering what she was doing with those runes, she said the work wasn't perfect, but it was working on it. And considering if she was even in a better state of mind and even allowed to dive deeper into her powers, that might create damage. After all, she stopped herself from dying. She practically stepped away from death's door due to this. Maybe it's where she needs more time to harness her power to then fully become one of the generals. After all, she might become a sorcerer or a wizard that actually has powers to relate to these divine dragons.
Depending on the fact that she is also currently going to be locked up. Hopefully, if everything goes right with what Cayenne would do.
But nonetheless, if you look back at her mental state with what was happening with the book, I would say they were hoping that she get more suggestible. Think about it. She was already being encouraged to do crimes and all this kind of matter activity. She just needed to be properly groomed to do the next worst thing. The only problem was that Sven seemed to go off the deep end.
I mean, unless what occurred here today, or yesterday, I should say,
And
is what needs to be done.
And then remember, that was just her making a mistake with that storing of that power. Imagine what she can do if she actually focused on building, let's just say, a rune that can go off like a bomb in a city. Imagine destruction at that point.
There's something that there's one more step that I'm pretty sure we're missing. I just don't know where it is.
That's where we have to take a look at this. But considering the lightning bolt that just went on, I would say, can you pass me that table? I'm going to put the captives on around the corner. I might as well just set up a barricade for ourselves. I'm going to get my javelin ready.
Okay. It's about this point that, yeah, you guys hear the folks coming down the hall. So, you guys that are coming down the hall, you see those doors that had the poisoned lock are closed. You do see that the lock is burned, because that was one of the traps that was identified and burned away. Don't know if the lock itself is still intact, but the trap is gone. What would the two of you like to do? Toa and Kaya.
Oh, okay.
I'm just gonna knock on the door and say, "Hey guys, it's us. We have the prefect and guards. Listen."
Easy peasy. And you guys can hear that straight away.
Yeah, we need to
Yeah, open the door.
Yeah.
Okay. So you guys open the door, and you see what I described. You see two of them flanked by 4 guards, and the prefect. You don't know she's the prefect, but now you know. And then 2 individuals that look to be some sort of magical being, people, as I described to them, all standing there together in this line. And the prefect looks at the 2 of you, and she says, "You must be these 2's associates. I am Laura Torin. I am the prefect of this region. It seems you guys have been busy with a lot of strange things going on, and you've only been in town for 1 day. That's interesting." And Akihara stops and says, "We need to look at this other thing first, if I may."
Of course, follow me.
And Laura says, "Yes, this might be more pertinent." And she says to 2 of the guards to stay with the people you guys had tied up. And she looks at the 1 guard who's in there, and she says, "Why? Just why?" And then moves on. And you guys, they both start. They say, "Is those other doors? Is that where this forge is?"
Yes.
Okay. They go down there, and once we get down a little bit of a hallway, and get to the pit, I guess you want to call it, the deep down chamber, both Deidre and Akihara look over, as well as Laura, and they say, "Good. By the gods. Let's go investigate it." And they make their way down. And now they're leading, and they're assuming you guys are following.
Yep.
And once they get to the bottom, unless you guys have any questions for them, Deidre and Akihara immediately start looking over everything. You guys can try talking to them while they're doing their thing. Just let me know if you want to, or else I'll do something else.
Alright. All Toa's gonna do is kind of like assist them with like things that he's noticed, things that he's seen, stuff like that. Like certain things.
I'm gonna raise my shield just in case and brace for anything that happens.
When you do that, they all take notice and they say, "Do you think something's gonna happen?"
So far with what's happened in this past day, with some explosions and what we've seen that thing do, I'm just gonna raise my shield and up and just be at a safe distance.
After a few moments of looking over things with the battery, Akihara turns and says, "Good news. This thing is not in any kind of risk of any kind of immediate explosion, nor even long-term explosion. In fact, it will only be going off if it were hit." I take it that someone had hit it recently.
I point to the body.
Right. That was done with them. What I'm curious about is how many bodies have they gone through to get this thing staked into these 3 points.
I point to the other
Each one of
bodies.
those must have... That is not enough. This took much more work. I wonder... And he focuses in on it, and you actually see his hand. He touches it, and his hand starts to actually meld into it for a second. And he pulls it back, and he's off! And like his hand is actually glowing blue for a few seconds. He flicks it, and it turns off. And he says, "This thing is infused with life essence." And Deidre walks over, and she does the same thing, and she actually looks sad. She goes, "Such an imbalance. Nature should not be moved like this." He turns and says, I must formally introduce myself to your 2 new companions. I was more focused on taking care of this. My name is Akihara. I am a master wizard from the Society of the Unseen Sun, and it is my job, along with my associate, the druid Deidre, to look into instances of magic being misused. My specific area of focus is in Exodus era magic. I am one would consider the leading expert on it, although there is no real expertise in this field, as we know almost nothing about it. And as such, it is my job to take care of any instances of it showing up in the world. This is something. This battery is obviously not Exodus era, but this forge is. And there's something else connecting this. There's more to it than just this part. There's more of it underground that has yet to be excavated. So, we, at the Society of the Unseen Sun, are taking immediate control of this area. We are quarantining it from anyone being in, except for Laura Torren as prefect of this area. And we are confiscating all goods relating to this. I must ask, have any of you seen any other bits or pieces that were part of this area? Anything relating to this? Or is this everything? Is everything accounted for?
I show him the Warhammer.
That's just a war. That's not even enchanted.
I'm just stating it was here when we got here. It was just...
I mean, any kind of bits and pieces of this, any kind of tomes, any kind of research notes, anything about this place. Is there anything that was here?
I mentioned about some of the notes that I would have found. Granted, it's mostly correspondence, but there might be something in there, and I mentioned that I gave it to Kaya.
And he goes over to Kaya, who, you don't have the papers anymore. Laura does.
Yes,
She's keeping
Laura.
them with her. And so they flip through 'em and they find a couple different things here and there about it, and they take him out.
Well,
And they,
I was that one pirate was in charge, not the orc, but the other person. He knew about the forge, and it seemed like he gave the orders to try to destroy it before anyone got to it.
So did the guard.
Right. Well, if there is nothing else that's notable, then we are going to lock this place down and ask you to leave immediately. If anything else comes to mind, please let me know. This is of utmost importance. And they begin to usher you out. But before you guys leave, Deidre says, thank you for all your help, Kaya, Orion, and Zabi. That is your names, isn't it? I was told that you knew a colleague of mine named Ahiri, that you helped him. I can only assume that that's the three of you.
Yes, sorry for not introducing myself.
It's okay, no one asked. No one asked you to introduce yourself, so I just assumed you would tell me if you wanted to.
How is
I'm
our
still
colleague?
in shock.
Oh, he's no longer a part of the society. He was let go. However, he is not in any kind of legal trouble. His punishment is his own mind.
Well,
He's very sad.
Oh.
All the time.
hopefully we can talk to him and cheer him up. I'm just glad that.
I'm gonna do a not so secret role. I'm not telling you what it's for, but I'm telling you I'm doing it.
It's for Laura realizing that she knows our names. Come on.
That's exactly what's happening.
Oh, I already figured
so
that.
So Laura says, Kaya, Zabi, and Orion. Where did you three come from?
Well, immediately we were in Swordco, and before that, did you not?
What is Toa doing?
She thinks for a minute and she goes, I read a newspaper article about the three of you. Did I not? About a problem in Oldenair.
That's why we
Yes, you
came here.
would've.
And this paperwork you have found basically is proof that you did not do it. Is that true?
Yes.
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 I find myself in a dilemma. And she says, walk with me. And she says the mages need to tighten this place down. So Laura and the two guards that were with her, the two that didn't come down, Brandon and the other guy, they all start walking up, and I'm assuming you four follow.
Yeah, no choice at this point.
Yep.
And as soon as you guys get past that doorway, you hear a and this bit of shimmering light appears behind you guys. A barrier that you cannot pass through. The entire forge area is being blocked arcanely. And they start walking down the hall, and they get to that other room where the two guards that were left and the three unconscious folks are. And she says, so this paperwork shows that you guys did not do this, but as I said, I'm at a bit of an impasse. I believe that you've done good things, but I have no jurisdiction in Oldenair. They currently have an order for your arrest. And so, guards, please take these four and bring them into custody. You will be sent immediately to jail.
Hey, can you just keep us away from Dorian, please?
Might not be possible. But I am sorry, all four of you are under arrest immediately for murder.
Might I ask why I am being included in this?
Oh, you are with the three of them now. You may have only met yesterday, but you are an accomplice, so it seems. There's no notion of whether you were with them before or not. I have no... Again, I must go by what I have. So, gods, please. And they come and they tell you to give them your weapons. Do you do so?
Yeah, I'll pull out my
Yeah.
notebook and I'll say, "Don't worry, I've got my own."
Yeah, fine. I know.
And
I
then-
can read the room.
I
Casters.
hand my stuff
They ask you
over,
to...
and I even hand over my cane, which probably looks innocuous, but I still hand it over.
Casters, they ask you to hold out your hands, and they tie your hands together in a way that prevents you from doing your somatic work. They even they say we have to put this around your mouths. There are mages that can do things with just speaking, and it's a gag essentially.
Oh, thank God, that's not going on me.
She says, but with that said, you will all be spending the night in jail. I will see what I can do to help, but my hands are tied politically and legally. This is all I can do. So, the four of you will be spending the night in jail, and I think we're going to end it there tonight. A nice, depressing cliffhanger.
This ain't depressing. I get to heal. I don't have.
Not much.
That's true.
I get to heal and not worry. Like the whole.
How many hit points will you get back? So,
7.
on a rest, you get hit points back equal to your con mod times your level.
I get 2.
I get 4.
I get 1.
So over the course of the night, you will restore 1
Wait.
hit point.
Times your level.
Yeah. Oh wait,
Yep.
2. That's it.
You guys are level 2 now. So, yes, con mod times your level. That is on a standard 8-hour time frame. If you rest for longer than 8 hours, a long-term rest, it becomes your con mod times twice your level. But you guys will have that going on over the course of the night. And if they take all your gear, then you cannot heal yourselves with your wand or your healer's kits. But if they let you keep some things, they might allow you to do that. Who knows?
You also could go through Poe's stuff and realize he had books.
That's a very good point.
I was gonna give them something,
But-
but I got over talked. But they didn't come back to me.
We'll go ahead and explore those things next week. If there were some things you wanted to add, and we wanted to, getting close to the end, we can go ahead and recheck those things.
They did say if anything
but-
comes up, if you remember anything, let them know.
But we'll explore all that over the next week, and we'll go ahead and end tonight. And we thank all of you guys for watching and for sticking with us. It's a bit of a longer session, but there's a lot going on, and we wanted to make sure we got all of it together. Next session's sure to be very interesting, and could be one of the most important sessions this campaign has seen so far. But with that said, tonight is coming to an end. So please like, please comment, please subscribe, all that good stuff, and tune in here next week for our big episode. So good night, everyone. We'll see you next time.
Yeah.
Comment Free Orion. Comment or Gilmore right.
Free Orion.
Comment I did do it.